All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Sunday afternoon. It is straight up noon right now here in California. July 27th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity here shows a 3.4 earthquake there across the area of Alaska. Looking out here across the globe overnight, as far as any major movement goes, most of this larger activity from yesterday. We do have a little bit newer movement here across the area of Japan with that 4.5 here along the Japan Trench, about 41 miles deep there into the subduction zone. Up here in Alaska, as I noted last night in the update, we're looking at a little region here in between two major areas here in the last couple weeks, right? We've seen 7-pointer over here, 7-pointer back over here. And this area is starting to show some elevated movement here. Now, over the last couple days, we have seen a number of earthquakes here, including some larger events in the same area. Mid-5s. As far as last night goes, overnight activity, it looks like the majority was from yesterday here, or maybe late last night with a 4.1, but kind of tapering off here. We are getting some newer movement back over here, as noted. This earthquake 15 miles deep there for a 3.4. Just kind of keeping an eye on things out here. It's been a little sketchy in terms of larger movement all around the Pacific plate. One earthquake up here at Mount Rainier. Looks like they are reporting the earthquakes back here again. This was just within the last few minutes, so that should show up on the seismograph stations here. But I don't see it showing up there on that one. That's interesting there. A little 1.1. At least that's what they're showing, a little 1.1 there. I don't see it showing up on the seismograph station, though. Normally it would. It's been in the last 5 minutes or so, so maybe it's this one right here, but very small. We can go over here to the Mount Rainier web page here from the PNSN network. That's a Pacific Northwest seismic network that monitors tremor activity, also the Cascade volcanoes, and there's a wealth of information out here. You can check out seismograph stations all throughout the Pacific Northwest. I'm more focused right now on Mount Rainier with the ongoing earthquake swarm. There's the earthquake down southeast here, the latest quake, little 1.1, very shallow, but then again, you got to account for the elevation out here, which is around this area. It's 14,000 feet or so. So this is actually a couple miles underneath the land here. When it comes out to a 0 for sea level, again, you got to account for the elevation. So that's a couple miles below the summit there. Let's check out the seismograph station here, see what we got recorded overnight and this morning. There's the 1-pointer right there, right? I do like to point this out when the earthquakes do happen. Not a big earthquake, but it did show up quite nicely here on the seismograph station. So if that's a 1-pointer, half of this would probably be a little 0.5. If you go back overnight, well, as you can see, there's been a bunch of earthquake activity underneath the 1.0 magnitude. Maybe another 1-pointer up there late last night. And oops, let me go back over here, which would be, well, that's at about 23. That's almost before midnight, but the next earthquake that I see, well, there's a couple of them, but see, yesterday there was not, almost looks like there was not any reporting of these smaller quakes out here. I know that for a fact. It's only until about midnight here that they started turning back on the reporting system here for the earthquakes. There's a handful of smaller quakes in there, but again, take a look at this map here. There's quite a few of these smaller spikes in here that are still earthquakes. Probably not able to locate them unless you get a decent review by human. Obviously, it's probably too small for the computer to find and pinpoint. But as you can see here, there's been a number of them. This earthquake swarm, I believe, is still ongoing at more of a level than what is being reported here by the USGS. That's my observation. That's what the data is showing here. For me to say that, and if these were straight lines, then I'd be lying, right? But I'm not. There's spikes all over these seismograph stations, which are identical to the 1.1 that just hit, and some smaller ones, which would make those smaller earthquakes. So that's still ongoing. We'll have to watch and see what happens Monday. Most of the time, these smaller quakes, after the Monday morning meeting there at the USGS office, they'll look into these smaller ones and report them and add them onto the map if they can pinpoint them. The previous day there, a number of earthquakes as well. These are outside interference. I don't know if it's... it almost reminds me of an old-fashioned seismogram there where the paper resets, but this is a digital reading. But it happens, it seems like every 20 hours or so, that little error. But these are earthquakes right here, earthquakes, and there was a number of them that did not go reported yesterday at all. So this swarm is still going on, not in the multitude counts there of like we first seen earlier this month, but it's still ongoing. All right. Out here across Northern California, 4.2 earthquake late last night. Been a lot of activity stirring up out here. And that, I think it has a lot to do with the tremor map. Let me show you guys here. Yesterday's tremor was down here across Northern California underneath this area. This is slow slip events that are being picked up between the two plates. It's a very low frequency vibration. Unlike, like an earthquake here where it's a sudden release and jolt of energy. This is just a slow slip event. That tells me right there that the Juan de Fuca plate, or in this portion down here, the Gorda plate, what's left of it, is further subducting underneath this area, the North American plate. So when that happens, when these recorded events get picked up there in the deeper areas of the Cascadia, that's adding further strain upstream. There we go, say that 10 times. And that's why we're seeing elevated earthquake activity out here with this tremor that's ongoing. And of course, the likelihood of a bigger earthquake increases, I feel, when we get these elevated tremor events. A couple earthquakes there last night, and then there's that 4.2 off of the Cascadia, but it just goes to show you the dynamics here. A lot of strain being produced in this region. Yesterday's earthquake, a little 2.5. That along a strike slip boundary, that normally adds strain in this fashion here. If you follow these ridges, it does have an effect on this area. So possibly we could see tremor activity elevated again here in this region today. We'll have to watch that a little bit later on this evening for this map to come out. Some up into the Washington area as well. No earthquake activity occurring up there as far as anything major goes. This is just whatever's going on with Mount Rainier there is above the magma chamber, and it has to do with fluid movement, and they say it's within the existing faults there above the magma chamber. So, but as far as any elevated earthquake activity there resulting from from the tremor counts out there, I don't see it showing up there for now. The Bay Area of California, a couple earthquakes there from yesterday. Latest one shows a 1.5 down here off the Calaveras fault zone. North of Lake Tahoe here, a couple smaller quakes, some from yesterday and today. Nothing big. Occasionally we'll see some earthquake activity up there in the Sierra Nevada mountains and east here in the Nevada area. Down south into extreme southern California. Wait a minute, what's this earthquake here? That is from this morning here. Ooh, what do we got? I'm not really worried about the magnitude there. I'm more worried about the location of that quake. It's right at the creeping, well, it's still in the creeping zone, the creeping section zone. Parkfield section begins right about here. And I'm just watching this closely here because it's coming up, I feel, for a 6-pointer very soon. It tends to happen on regular intervals of 20 to 22 years, and the last one was 2004. So we're at a time period here. I'm watching that closely, and there's a little uncertainty here. A lot of people meaning geologists and whatnot, feel that the next 6-pointer that occurs on the Parkfield segment could take the San Andreas Fault with it, the southern branch, because of the amount of time that has passed, the locked areas that are been building up steam here for quite a while, which is possible. It's very possible. So that's why I'm focused on what goes on up north here along the creeping section, and whether it's getting super close here to the Parkfield section here that could rupture and take the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault with it. The southern branch here that's maximum capable of producing an 8.1. So that's why it's important to watch what's going on there. A handful of earthquakes there along the Garlock Fault shear zone. This area was swarming a couple months back. It looks like it's starting to pick back up here yesterday and today. No big earthquake activity. It's just been swarming. I mean, in the last 30 days, not so much, only 64 earthquakes. But if we were to go back the last 4 months or so, There were hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes striking out in this area with no main quake. Just a sign of some stress and strain out here against the shear zone and the interaction here of the North American and the Pacific plate boundary. It's under extreme strain out here, let me tell you. Nothing big happening there in Southern California for now, but one day that's not going to be the case. No major swarms out here, just a little spread out activity across Southern California today. Further inland, nothing showing up there on Yellowstone. That's just one of those things there where the Yellowstone stations are still pretty much offline. Well, some of them are online. They're offline in sense of what this web page normally shows us here, which is a layout of the seismograph stations. I can even show you here from a couple months back what it used to look like. Here we could see pretty much, every station out there around the Yellowstone caldera, in the black outline here, Lake Yellowstone in the blue. We could actually see when storms or wind were coming through in the darker readings. We could also see when earthquake activity is popping up, such as this little spike there. But for whatever reason now, they've done something here with it. The amplitude counts here, or the amplitude level on the stations here. Where did I go? University of Utah. Here we go. I need this. I'm going to re-update this map here. I'm going to go to station map. I'm going to add this here to my bookmarks. Oh wait, I don't have to go searching for it. And this is similar to what it looked like before. And you click on it, and it'd be a decent station there with a very nice amplitude in terms of monitoring the data. But look at this here. That is pretty well squashed on that one. Let's go to another station over here. It just looks like everything is so not amplified, but because if it was amplified, it'd pick up more of these readings at a higher amplitude level here, and it's just barely picking up anything here. Something just, it looks off. Yeah, there's been a couple smaller spikes here, but I'm wondering how big they are, if this is turned down in terms of the amplitude, So anyway, I'm kind of watching that, just waiting for that to sort itself out. Nothing showing up there on the USGS map for now, but I'm not very fond of how the stations are looking there. The oil fields out there in Texas, nothing new. I mean, just oil fields and earthquakes go hand in hand out there. One earthquake out in Tennessee from yesterday. Eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. Getting some more earthquake activity up here along the Aleutian Trench. I'm thinking we might see some larger activity here soon. If you think about it, this has been an area of interest between two major regions here, and the general plate stress movement, when we get earthquake activity up here and even some over here, that will shift the Pacific plate off to the northwest more. See, this is a general movement of the Pacific plate. The arrow's moving off to the northwest. So movement here recently with that 7-pointer, and movement back over here across Russia. That should increase these middle point boundaries. Also areas over here across Japan, but Japan right now a little quiet, but we are picking up earthquake activity in that middle point zone. And that's where we got another earthquake right on the plate boundary of that subduction zone, the Aleutian Trench, with a 4.0. We may see something bigger stirring up out here. Wouldn't be surprised. As far as Japan, there's that one earthquake. We can double check here real quick. Let me go over here to the Japan Meteorological Agency website, where, let's see here, this is today. You see, there's only been 5 earthquakes recorded after midnight, so no swarming going on. There's that 4.6 off the coast here of the Fukushima area. USGS reporting that as a 4.5, but it's fairly quiet. Well, areas north. South is pretty quiet today, though. Let me see what we got down south here. Yeah, a little bit quieter down here. Here's that older movement from yesterday, so I need to drop that a little bit. There we go. Any newer activities, definitely into the Kermadec Trench. New Zealand, not so much here. Does look like there was another 4-pointer in between North and South Island there. Do have to keep an eye on that. Quiet zones today around Papua New Guinea eastward here to the about the Tonga Trench. Let's see here. A lot of older activity here on the globe. A lot of red color and pink color, kind of light red color rings out here. Newer activity, I guess, down south here across the South Sandwich Trench or just prior to it. That's a couple fives. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. Just kind of one of those days here where I have a feeling after my update ends, a big earthquake's going to come in. Watch. It never fails that way. All right, real quick glance here at the Big Island of Hawaii. See if anything's stirring up out there. Getting close to it. Well, not close to an eruption. We still have a number of days to go, but I do like to double check the deformation chart, see if anything's shifted down below that would alter the course here of episode number 30 coming in next. It's rinse and repeat there since December of last year. We're on track here. Number of days before we get up to this level, or at least close to the level of maximum inflation there at Kilauea Volcano before an eruption happens. But nothing new, still going up as expected. Space weather activity, got a little bit of sizzling going on here. I call it sizzling because it's pretty much not flatlined anymore. We're getting a little bit of crackling going on there with some consistent sea flare activity. So let's see where that's coming from. And most of the time you can see it here on the UV filter image of the sun. There is an active area over here on the eastern limb that looks like it's coming around into the Earth-directed view. Let's go see what it is here with the magnetogram image. Going to be this area back here. All other areas out here are fairly stable, but that's the only region back over here. I don't think it's this region. It's another area back over here that's flaring with some sea flare activity, making it bright there on that UV image I just showed you guys. But we'll watch that. That may be an area of interest here as we head into the week ahead of us. Like I say, we've noticed that uptick here overnight, and that's about the only region that's showing that sea flare activity. We'll check it out a little bit later on this evening, see if we got a little bit better view of it. No major auroras. I think that was just a dud there. As far as that Aurora forecast, I mean, it never came through. Wasn't expecting much here. Nothing at all on the Aurora forecast. Nothing overnight on the KP index either. Real quick glance here at the close approach asteroids from the NASA website. Got this one coming in tomorrow. Fairly big at 220 feet. That's a large airplane, actually. 393,000 miles there. That was within the Earth's moon distance, and I'd be looking more into it, but that's fairly safe there. That's a decently, somewhat of a large one, but it's safe as far as distance goes, and the rest of these millions of miles away from the planet. Got an enhanced zone up here today on the map. It looks like a 5% chance there for some tornado activity. Got some big-time wind and some big-time hail there in the hatched area. Across these areas today, it looks like Minnesota, portions of South Dakota as well. Just a heads up there for severe weather. Not a whole lot going on out west here. Got temperatures climbing up a little bit. It does look like we got some more thunderstorm potential out there across the mountains. Sierra Nevada and up above Redding here, but overall, I think it's going to be 92 today here where I'm at. Slowly creeping up here to the mid-90s this week. I guess that's about average. As long as we're not above 100, you know, it gets miserable anything above 100. I'm seriously ready for some fall and winter weather out here. Quick glance here at the total accumulated precipitation runs. See who's getting some moisture and who's not. Guess who's not getting moisture? Me. Everywhere else out here except where I live. I mean, if I were to go up in the mountains, yeah, I'd get some thunderstorms. But down here in the Sacramento Valley and the rest of California here, pretty quiet. A lot of rainfall out here across the eastern portion of the country. As far as any, let's see, tropical systems here. Let's put this into motion, see if anything's stirring up. There's a hurricane out there in the eastern Pacific, not headed to land. Looks like maybe something out there trying to form in the Atlantic. Another one behind that, but that's a ways out there. We'll have to watch that. Pretty much peak hurricane season coming up here in September, so we're just kind of getting into it. We'll have to watch that closely, though. Waters are quite warm. Been pretty fortunate not to have any major systems out here yet, but again, we're headed deeper into the hurricane season. We'll definitely continue to watch that. Seismograph stations out there, well, as you can see, pretty quiet. A couple small spikes there on a number of California stations. Got one in Petrolia and one down there in Southern California near Anza, but nothing big on the map for now. Have yourself a good Sunday, folks, and we will see you guys back out here for the Sunday night update. Stay safe out there.